An EMP attack on American soil is imminent. In a doomsday prepper's world, when there's nothing hot on the news to scare you, into thinking World War III or nuclear war is imminent, the go-to for them to keep the view count going and the dollars flowing is to scare you in the possibility of an EMP attack on American soil. And it goes something like this.
According to this intel, Russia, with the support of China, could soon attack us with an electronic nuclear weapon.
First of all, this is not a plug for that guy's video, but he certainly ticks all the boxes when it comes to marketing to maximize profits. And why not? He's simply capitalizing on an $11 billion industry. That's right, $11 billion with a B dollars in America. But let's get back to the topic at hand, which is hemp. No, not this, but this high-altitude electromagnetic pulse. Much of the information on an HEMP attack that doomsday preppers like to pull from is from this report right here. Written in 2020 by the EMP Task Force on National and Homeland Security. Its focus is on China, not Russia, hence the title. And unless you analyze what is actually said here, you would mistake it as fact, when much of it is an assessment of probability and likelihood based off of their research. Additionally, it is written in a way much like that guy's video to stoke fear, in order to get the government to take the effects of an EMP seriously. And while our military is prepared in some areas and making strides to improve in others, it's really the private sector that is late to the game and hardening against an EMP. But what is an EMP? It is an electromagnetic pulse emitted by a solar flare or a high explosive, typically a nuclear bomb. There are non-nuclear EMP weapons that the US has, but they could not cause the damage described by doomsday preppers. They are used for localized targeted attacks because that is the extent of their effectiveness. To detonate an EMP capable of taking out the US power grid would require a nuclear weapon. That detonation would first require a launch. We would detect such a launch. But what about the presumed space-based weapons in the report? While possible, they have yet to be confirmed publicly. But let's just hypothetically say they existed, we would know where they are and when they're used. And this is not the same thing as anti-satellite missiles that are launched from aircraft, or lasers and electronic jammers, of which we also have. The report is specifically talking about nuclear weapons already in space. So then comes the doctrine. The report tries to dismiss Chinese and Russian military doctrine, and convince the reader that it is deceptive in nature. But it's the author of this report that actually misunderstands what the Chinese position on no first use even is. China has never said that they wouldn't use nuclear weapons in war. They have simply stated that they are for defensive purposes and would never use them in a first strike option, such as a surprise attack. China is very clear. Interfere with our part of the world where we view your military aggression as a threat to our national survival, and we will use every means at our disposal to get you to stop. So the only time to expect an EMP attack is if we are already in the throes of World War III or direct conflict with China, and we were decisively winning the war, meaning the collapse of their one China principle. So the story is largely the same with Russia. Wars and conflict will largely remain conventional so long as we don't try to invade their countries, especially considering they are incapable of invading ours. Additionally, another reason why this would never happen as a surprise attack or first strike scenario is because they could wipe out the power grid for the entire continental United States, in fact all 50 states, and we would still have enough forward deployed forces to burn the world to the ground. And they are all about regime survivability, not the end of the world. If you enjoyed that video or my content overall, please consider visiting my Patreon and subscribing to my YouTube. I'm going to start posting there first and then same or similar material later in the day on TikTok. So while you could wait to see it on TikTok, you could see it sooner and help me out if you saw it on YouTube first. Additionally, I will start doing longer form content, but it won't be like what you see here on TikTok. It'll be more like initial takes or initial thoughts on current events. But thank you to all my followers and those that have reached out to me. I really appreciate your support. I hope you've had a good weekend.